7:50 p.m. Sarah Jenkins watched through the service window as Chef Eduardo prepared the salad course. He used the red cutting board, the one marked shellfish only, but he was cutting lettuce on it with the same knife he'd used on shrimp. Same gloves? No washing between? Behind him, the allergen safety form hung empty on the wall. Nobody had checked it. Nobody ever checked it. For 9 years, Sarah had watched moments like this. A Latina cleaning woman who saw everything and said nothing because nobody ever asked. 12 minutes later, CEO Marcus Thompson took his first bite. His face flushed red within seconds. His hand went to his throat. Hives spread across his neck as 4 executives sat, frozen, not understanding. Sarah ran toward the dining room. Security guard Derek blocked her path. "You people stay downstairs during service." Through the glass, Thompson was turning purple. She pulled the EpiPen from her pocket. "Move." "But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's go back." Back to when Sarah Jenkins was still invisible. 6:30 p.m. Same night, floor 50, cleaning supply locker room. Sarah punched her time card, badge number 5527. The same badge she'd worn for 9 years, the same gray uniform, the same routine that had become muscle memory. She changed quickly in the small locker room. Number 5527 matched her badge, everything in its place. Inside that locker, hidden behind her spare uniform, was a framed certificate. Miami Medical Center Clinical Laboratory Technology. Nobody had ever asked about it. Nobody ever looked past the mop in the cart. There was a photo, too, taped inside the locker door. Mia, 14 years old, bright smile, 3 medical alert bracelets on her left wrist. Peanuts, shellfish, tree nuts, severe, life-threatening. The kind of allergies that meant Sarah had learned every emergency protocol, every symptom progression, every mistake that could kill. And there in the small red medical pouch at the bottom of her locker was Mia's backup EpiPen. 0.3 mg epinephrine in an orange-tipped auto-injector. She'd been written up for keeping it there last month, against policy, unauthorized medical supplies. But Mia kept the primary at school, and Sarah couldn't not have one nearby. Not after Luis. She pulled out her notebook. Small black. 9 years of observations written in careful handwriting. Chipped paint on floor 48. Electrical outlets sparking in the conference room. Kitchen staff leaving sanitization logs blank. Nobody had ever asked to see it. Nobody cared what a cleaning woman noticed. 6:45 p.m. She started her route. Floor 52. Executive suite, the same path she'd walked 3,285 times. Meanwhile, 4 floors down, in a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Miami's skyline, Marcus Thompson was reviewing documents. $2.2 billion. That's what the merger was worth. The biggest deal of his career. Close it tonight or lose it to Apex Ventures. On his desk sat a photo. Sophia, his wife, dead 3 years from cancer. He'd been too busy to notice until it was too late. Stage 4, 6 months gone. In his locked desk drawer, hidden where no one would see, was a prescription bottle. Marcus Thompson, EpiPen, auto-injector, shellfish allergy, severe, but he never told anyone. Weakness was vulnerability. Vulnerability was liability. So he kept his EpiPen close and his secret closer. Except tonight, the EpiPen would stay in that drawer. He was only going upstairs for 90 minutes. What could happen in 90 minutes? 7:50 p.m. Sarah was cleaning the hallway outside the executive dining room. Through the service window, she could see into the kitchen. Chef Eduardo Ramirez was prepping dinner. 12 courses for 6 people. The kind of meal that cost more than Sarah made in a month. She watched as he pulled a cutting board from the rack. Red, bright red. The color-coded system was simple. Red boards were for shellfish only. Cross-contamination protocols. FDA standard. But Eduardo was cutting romaine lettuce on that red board. Right there, right where he'd been prepping shrimp 30 minutes earlier. Sarah's hand went to her pocket, her notebook. She wrote 7:50 p.m. Chef Ramirez, protocol violation, red board mixing. She'd written entries like this before. 6 months ago, she'd noted that Vanessa Klein, the new personal assistant, had been asking unusual questions about Mr. Thompson's health. Strange for an assistant to be so curious about medical history. Sarah had written it down. Nobody asked her why she was taking notes. Nobody saw her taking notes. She was furniture, part of the building, invisible. Last time she'd mentioned a safety concern, the supervisor had told her to focus on her job. Just clean. Don't think, don't observe, don't speak. So she'd learned to be quiet, to see everything and say nothing, to write it all down in a notebook nobody would ever read. But tonight, as she watched Eduardo use that contaminated knife to slice through vegetables, something cold settled in her stomach. This wasn't just sloppy. This was dangerous. She'd seen this before. She'd lost someone this way. Not again. 8:05 p.m. Sarah stood in the hallway, cleaning cart beside her, watching through the service window. Eduardo moved through the kitchen with the confidence of someone who'd been cooking for 18 years, Michelin-trained executive chef. He dipped a spoon into olive oil, the same oil he'd used for the shrimp tails. Then he drizzled it over the Caesar salad. Cross-contamination. Direct. Obvious. At least 10 milligrams of shellfish protein in that dressing. More than enough. Sarah's eyes moved to the wall behind him. There it was, laminated, pristine. The FDA allergen control checklist required by law. Below it hung a clipboard. The boxes for today's date were empty, completely blank. Nobody had checked a single protocol. Next to that, another poster. Wash, rinse, sanitize. The 3-basin sink sat dry, bone dry. The water hadn't run in hours. On the counter, visible through the window, was the kitchen logbook, equipment sanitization record. She could see the last entry from where she stood 7 days ago. Required daily. Ignored completely. Eduardo didn't change his gloves. He should have changed them between allergen categories. He didn't wash his hands. Required between prep stations. He used the same knife he'd used on the shrimp. No rinse, no sanitization, nothing. And on the side table near the dining room entrance, she could see Vanessa Klein's folder. The VIP dietary requirements form peeked out from the edge. Sarah had seen that form 100 times. Previous assistants always filled it out 48 hours before executive dinners. Always. It was highlighted in yellow. Priority protocol. This one was blank. She could see the empty boxes from here. 8:10 p.m. Sarah made her decision. She approached the dining room entrance. Vanessa Klein stood there, arms crossed, guardian of the threshold. "Excuse me, Miss Klein," Sarah said quietly. "I need to—" "Not now." Vanessa didn't look at her. "Mr. Thompson cannot be disturbed. It's about the food safety. I noticed the kitchen. The chef is Michelin-trained." Vanessa's tone was ice. "I think he knows what he's doing." Sarah tried again. "I saw the cutting board. The protocols aren't being followed. The dietary form isn't. Mr. Thompson specifically requested no interruptions." Vanessa finally looked at her. The kind of look that reminded Sarah exactly where she stood in the hierarchy. "This is a billion-dollar deal. You understand? You can clean later." The dismissal was complete. Sarah stood there, her hand gripping the handle of her cleaning cart. She thought about 6 months ago. The electrical outlet, the one she'd reported, the facilities manager had laughed. "Are you an electrician now? Stick to mopping." 2 weeks later, that outlet caught fire. Minor damage, nobody hurt. But nobody had thanked her either. Nobody had apologized. She'd been the woman who caused drama over nothing. And now here she was again, about to cause drama, about to overstep, about to risk the job that paid for Mia's medical bills and kept the lights on, and slowly, painfully built a college fund. Through the glass door, she watched the dining room. Marcus Thompson sat at the head of the table. 3 executives, 1 lawyer, Vanessa's domain. The salad course was being plated in the kitchen. She could see the shimmering oil on the greens, that faint iridescence that meant protein. Shellfish protein. Her husband's face flashed in her memory. Luis grabbing his throat, the confusion, the panic, the restaurant staff not understanding. The ambulance taking 16 minutes. Too late. Always too late. 8:12 p.m. The server carried the salad plates into the dining room. She watched Marcus Thompson laugh at something an executive said, relaxed, unaware. His fork rested beside his plate. Vanessa Klein's face caught Sarah's attention just for a moment. Vanessa watched that salad arrive with an expression Sarah couldn't quite read. Was it satisfaction? Anticipation? It vanished as quickly as it appeared. Derek Ruiz, the security guard, stood by the elevator, watching Sarah, making sure she stayed in her lane, stayed invisible. Sarah's hand trembled slightly. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe it was fine. Maybe she was overreacting. Maybe. Marcus Thompson picked up his fork. The fork moved toward his mouth. Sarah had seconds to decide. 8:13 p.m. Marcus Thompson took his first bite of salad. Sarah moved, not toward her cleaning cart, toward the dining room door. Derek stepped in front of her immediately. "Ma'am, no cleaning during dinner service. It's not about cleaning." Sarah's voice was steady. "There's a problem with the food. The chef's been here 18 years. Food's fine. Please, I need to speak with Mr. Thompson. It's urgent." Derek's hand moved to her shoulder. Firm. Final. "You need to step back, ma'am." Vanessa appeared at his side. "Is there a problem?" "The food." Sarah looked directly at Vanessa. "There's cross-contamination. Shellfish proteins on the... Our chef follows strict protocols." Vanessa cut her off cleanly. "I saw the cutting board." Sarah's words came faster now. Red board marked shellfish only. He used it for vegetables. The knife wasn't washed between the shrimp prep and the salad. The olive oil was contaminated. "I saw the gloves. He didn't change them. The sanitization log hasn't been signed in 7 days. The allergen checklist is blank. Nobody checked the protocols." Vanessa's face remained impassive. "Are you seriously interrupting a business dinner over a cutting board? Does Mr. Thompson have a shellfish allergy?" The question hung in the air. Vanessa's micro-expression shifted. "Surprise?" "Just a flash." "That's confidential medical information. How would you?" "Because if he does, the cross-contamination level I witnessed is enough to trigger anaphylaxis in 2 to 8 minutes. Sarah's voice was different now. Clinical, precise. Shellfish protein transfer at 5 to 10 milligrams. That's the threshold for severe reaction. I saw at least that much. Derek stared at her. "You a doctor now?" "I was a clinical lab technician, immunology department at Jackson Memorial, 7 years. I specialized in allergen testing, cross-reactivity studies. I can read an allergen response profile better than most physicians." Vanessa hesitated. "Just a second. That doesn't..." The knife had pink residue on the handle. Sarah's words were bullets now. Facts, evidence, shrimp fat. The olive oil had an iridescent shimmer. Protein contamination. The cutting board had red specks in the grain. Shell fragments. And the VIP dietary requirements form is blank. Nobody asked about allergies. Nobody verified. Nobody followed protocol. She pulled out her notebook, flipped it open. August 5th. Kitchen inspection certificate expired. December 10th. Allergen checklist unchecked. February 20th. Dietary form blank. I've been documenting this for months. 8:16 p.m. Through the glass, Marcus Thompson touched his throat briefly, cleared it, took a sip of water. Vanessa glanced back. He's just clearing his throat. That's how it starts. Sarah's voice cracked slightly. First the throat tightness, then the hives, then the breathing. Symptoms manifest 2 to 8 minutes post-ingestion. If he's severely allergic, his airway will close in 6 to 12 minutes without epinephrine. He has maybe 10 minutes left. This is insane. Vanessa's voice rose. Mr. Thompson is fine. Look at him right now. Look. They looked. Marcus touched his throat again, rubbed his neck. His face was slightly flushed. Not much. Easy to miss. Facial flushing? Sarah said quietly. Stage 1. He's just warm, Derek said, but his voice was less certain. Marcus took another sip of water. Swallowed with visible difficulty. Dysphagia. Difficulty swallowing. Stage 2. 8:17 p.m. Marcus coughed once, then twice. The executives glanced at him but continued talking. Nothing alarming, just a cough. Please. Sarah's voice broke. I watched my husband die this way. November 2017, anniversary dinner. Cross-contamination. Shrimp on the same grill as his fish. Symptoms started in 4 minutes. His throat closed in 9. The ambulance took 16 minutes. The hallway went silent. I didn't know enough then to save him, but I learned everything after. Everything about anaphylaxis, everything about allergen protocols, everything about emergency response, because my daughter has 6 severe allergies, and I will never be that helpless again. Vanessa's hand shook slightly on the door handle. Even if what you're saying is true, he's fine. Look at him. Marcus coughed harder. The sound was different now, wet, strained. An executive called out, Marcus, you okay? Marcus nodded, but his hand stayed on his throat. 8:18 p.m. Sarah could hear it now, even through the glass, the wheezing, the stridor, that high-pitched sound of airways narrowing. Stage 3 progressing to stage 4. Call his doctor, Sarah said urgently. Ask about the shellfish allergy. Please, just make one call. I don't have his desk. Floor 48. Locked drawer. There's a prescription bottle. EpiPen. I've seen it when I clean. I didn't touch it. I just dust. But I saw the label. Vanessa went pale. You went through his private... I dust furniture, Miss Klein. I see things. That's my job. Marcus stood abruptly. His chair scraped. He tugged at his collar, his tie. His face was deep red now, hives visible on his neck, breathing audible, labored. One executive stood. Marcus. Another reached for a phone. Should we call? Marcus tried to speak, couldn't. His eyes went wide with panic. He coughed again. The room still saw nothing wrong. 8:19 p.m. The dining room door finally opened. Vanessa's hands fumbled with the handle. Marcus gripped the back of his chair. His breathing was a rasp now, loud enough that everyone stopped talking. Sarah pushed past Vanessa, past Derek, into the room. 3 executives backed away from Marcus. They didn't know what to do, didn't know what was happening. A lawyer grabbed his phone. 911. What's your emergency? Sarah dropped to her knees beside Marcus. He was trying to breathe. Failing. The stridor was loud now, that terrible high-pitched wheeze. His face was grayish-blue. Cyanosis starting. Oxygen deprivation. My name is Sarah Jenkins. Her voice cut through the chaos. Clear, calm, clinical. I worked at Jackson Memorial Hospital, clinical laboratory, 2007 to 2014. Immunology testing, allergy panels, cross-reactivity studies. One executive stared. Who the hell are you? I'm the person who knows what's happening to him. She looked up at them. This is anaphylactic shock. Stage 4, shellfish cross-contamination in his salad. He has a severe allergy. His airway is closing. He has approximately 3 minutes before complete closure. The lawyer spoke into his phone. Male 58, allergic reaction, can't breathe. Location is Thompson Plaza, floor 52. How long until EMS? Sarah asked. They said 9 minutes. He doesn't have 9 minutes. Vanessa stood frozen in the doorway. I didn't check the forms. I forgot to send the dietary requirements. I didn't know he had allergies. I didn't. Not now. Sarah's hands moved over Marcus, checking pulse, checking breathing pattern. Where's his EpiPen? I don't know. His briefcase, maybe. Floor 48. Another executive. His office in his desk. 4 minutes round trip. Too late. I have one. Sarah stood. Floor 50. My locker. 2 minutes. The company lawyer blinked. You can't use someone else's prescription medication. That's illegal in Florida. If something goes wrong, Marcus collapsed back into his chair, clutching his throat. His lips were turning blue. His eyes rolled back. He could barely draw a breath. Sarah looked at the lawyer. Do you want to watch him die legally or save him illegally? Silence. I'll go. Derek moved towards the door. You don't know which locker? Sarah was already running. Follow me. They sprinted down the hallway. Emergency stairwell. Elevator too slow. Sarah took the stairs 2 at a time. 42 years old, and she moved like her daughter's life depended on it, because once her husband's life had depended on it, and she hadn't known what to do. Derek struggled to keep up. Young, athletic, but Sarah had been running these stairs for 9 years. Behind them in the dining room, Vanessa Klein was crying. I forgot the form. I forgot to check. This is my fault. If he dies. An executive put a hand on her shoulder. Stay calm. Help is coming. But Marcus couldn't hear them anymore. His breathing was barely perceptible, gasping, his face gray. The wall clock showed 8:21 p.m. 3 minutes. The EpiPen was 2 floors down. 8:22 p.m. Sarah burst into the locker room. Combination lock. Her hands shook. First try, wrong. Derek was right behind her. Hurry. Second try. Click. The locker opened. Inside, her spare uniform on a hook, her lunch bag, the framed certificate hidden behind everything, the photo of Mia, and the small red medical pouch. She grabbed it, unzipped it. The EpiPen, 0.3 meguime epinephrine auto-injector. The label said, Mia Jenkins, emergency use only, severe food allergies. Derek saw the certificate on the inside of the door. Miami Medical Center Clinical Laboratory Technology. He saw the photo, the child with 3 medical alert bracelets. He picked up her notebook from where it had fallen on the stairs, flipped through pages of detailed observations, technical terminology, years of documentation. You're not just... Not now. Sarah was already moving. Run! They sprinted back up the stairs. Derek on his radio. Got it. Coming now. Sarah's legs burned. Her lungs screamed, but she pushed harder because Luis hadn't gotten this chance. Luis had died while people stood around confused. Not this time. Not again. 8:24 p.m. In the dining room, Marcus was slumped in his chair, his face grayish blue, his breathing barely perceptible, stridor at its loudest, gasping, desperate. Is he still breathing? An executive's voice cracked. Marcus, stay with us. The lawyer leaned close. Vanessa stood at the door, watching the hallway. Where are they? The wall clock ticked to 8:24 and 30 seconds. 8:25 p.m. The door slammed open. Sarah rushed in, EpiPen in hand. The executives parted. She dropped to her knees beside Marcus. Someone call out the time. The lawyer looked at his watch. 8:25 and 15 seconds. Mr. Thompson. Sarah's voice was steady now. Professional. I'm giving you epinephrine. You'll feel a sting. Marcus was barely conscious. Couldn't respond. His eyes unfocused. Sarah removed the EpiPen from its case, orange tip pointing down. She'd done this drill with Mia 100 times. Muscle memory, protocol precision. She placed the orange tip against Marcus's outer thigh through his pants. No time to remove clothing. She pushed down hard. The click was audible. Sharp. Final. She held it there. 2. 3. She removed the injector. The needle was visible for a moment. She immediately massaged the injection site, promoting absorption, maximizing effectiveness. 0.3 mg epinephrine, intramuscular injection, peak effect in 3 to 5 minutes, 8, 25, and 45 seconds. The room fell silent except for Marcus's labored breathing. Everyone watched, waiting, hoping. Turn him on his left side. Elevate his legs. Sarah's commands were clear. The executives obeyed instantly. They were taking orders from a cleaning woman. Nobody questioned it. She monitored his pulse at his neck, checked his breathing pattern, watched his skin color. 15 seconds passed. His breathing was still terrible. Is it working? Vanessa's voice was small. Give it time. 30 seconds. A slight improvement. The gasping less desperate. The stridor marginally quieter. 45 seconds. Color returning to his face, grayish shifting to pink. The hives still present but not spreading. 60 seconds. Marcus drew a deeper breath, then another. The stridor diminishing, his eyes focused. He was conscious again. 8:27 p.m. Marcus was breathing, still wheezing, still struggling, but breathing. Mr. Thompson, can you hear me? Sarah stayed close. He nodded weakly. You had anaphylactic shock, severe allergic reaction, shellfish cross-contamination in your salad. I administered epinephrine. The paramedics are coming. You'll need hospital observation. Sometimes there's a biphasic reaction. Second phase in 4 to 8 hours. They'll monitor you. Marcus's hand reached up, touched her arm. A gesture of gratitude. No words. He couldn't speak yet, but his eyes said everything. An executive finally broke the silence. How did you know what to do? Sarah looked up at him. I used to save lives before I cleaned buildings. Whose EpiPen was that? The lawyer's voice was cautious. My daughter's. She has severe allergies, too. Multiple life-threatening. You used your child's emergency medication. The lawyer seemed torn between gratitude and legal concern. She has a backup at school. He had nothing. What would you have done? Nobody answered. Vanessa was still crying. I'm so sorry. I forgot the dietary form. I didn't check. I didn't know you had allergies. I almost killed you. I'm so... Marcus's voice was hoarse, barely a whisper. Not your fault. I never told you. It's not just her fault. Sarah stood, addressed the room. It's the system. I watched your chef violate 6 safety protocols tonight. She counted them on her fingers. 1, used a shellfish-only cutting board for vegetables. 2, didn't change gloves between allergen categories. 3, didn't wash the knife between shrimp and salad prep. 4, cross-contaminated olive oil with seafood oil. 5, didn't fill out the allergen control checklist. It hasn't been filled out in weeks. 6, the sanitization log hasn't been signed in 7 days. She let that sink in. The protocols exist. They're on your wall in your kitchen, but nobody follows them. Nobody enforces them. Nobody cares. She looked at Vanessa, then at Derek, then back at the executives. I tried to tell Miss Klein. She dismissed me. I tried to tell security. He dismissed me because I'm just the cleaning woman. Robert, the CFO, looked stricken. My God, we had no idea. I've been noticing things for 9 years. Nobody asks me what I see. Nobody thinks I have anything valuable to say. Nobody looks at me long enough to wonder if I might know something they don't. The protocols. Robert looked at the others. They're decorative. Nobody actually enforces them. They're not decorative when someone almost dies. Derek stepped forward. He held up Sarah's notebook. She's been documenting everything. Safety violations, equipment failures, protocol lapses, 9 years of observations. He handed the notebook to Marcus. Marcus took it with shaking hands, flipped through pages, dates, details, technical observations, everything. 8:28 p.m., the sound of sirens outside growing louder. 8:30 p.m., paramedics entered with equipment. The lead paramedic assessed Marcus quickly. Who administered epinephrine? I did. Sarah stood. Zone 3 Mengrok intramuscular about 5 minutes ago. You medical personnel? I was clinical lab tech, immunology. The paramedic checked Marcus's vitals, listened to his breathing. Good work, you saved his life. Another 2 minutes and he didn't finish. Didn't need to. They loaded Marcus onto a gurney, oxygen cannula in his nose. IV line started. He reached for Sarah's hand as they wheeled him past. Thank you. His voice was barely audible. You saw what no one did. Sarah squeezed his hand gently. I've been seeing for years, Mr. Thompson. Tonight, someone finally had to listen. As they wheeled him towards the elevator, Marcus spoke to Robert. I want her information. We'll talk soon. Robert nodded, looked at Sarah. We owe you everything. Derek stood beside her as the paramedics disappeared down the hallway. Why did you do it? Risk everything? Sarah looked at him. Because once I didn't know enough, and someone I love died. I won't let that happen again. Not to anyone. The cleaning woman had saved the CEO. Now what? The next morning, 9 a.m., floor 15, Human Resources Conference Room. Sarah sat alone, still in her cleaning uniform. She'd slept 2 hours, come to work at 6:30 like always, because what else was she supposed to do? Laura Benson, the HR director, entered with the company lawyer. Miss Jenkins. Laura's voice was professional, distant. First, I need to inform you that you're on administrative leave pending investigation. Sarah blinked. Investigation of what? The lawyer set down his briefcase. You administered prescription medication not prescribed to you or to the recipient. That's illegal in the state of Florida. You violated company policy by keeping unauthorized medical supplies in your locker. You've been written up for this before. I saved his life. You also created significant legal liability for the company. The lawyer's tone was matter-of-fact. The EpiPen was prescribed to your daughter. Using it on Mr. Thompson constitutes unlicensed medical practice. If he'd had an adverse reaction, if something had gone wrong, the company could face a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. You could face criminal charges. Sarah stared at them. Criminal charges for saving someone's life. We're trying to protect you and the company. Laura folded her hands on the table. The situation is complex. We need time to... You're suspending me for being a hero. 10:30 a.m. Floor 52, the kitchen. A health inspector from the Miami-Dade Department of Health stood with a clipboard. Chef Eduardo Ramirez watched, arms crossed as the inspector documented violations. Sanitization log. Last entry 10 days ago, not 7. Required daily. Multiple cross-contamination violations visible. Color-coded cutting board system not followed. Allergen control checklist blank for the past 4 weeks. Glove supply inadequate. Knife sanitization procedures ignored. This kitchen should be closed immediately. The inspector made notes. Robert stood nearby. This is a private executive kitchen, not a public, doesn't matter. Someone nearly died. This is a public health emergency. The inspector turned to Eduardo. How long have you been working here? 18 years. Never had a problem. You had a problem last night. How was I supposed to know he had allergies? Nobody tells me anything. Did you check the VIP dietary requirements form? There wasn't one. Did you ask? Silence. Did you follow the allergen protocol checklist? I know what I'm doing. I don't need a checklist. Clearly, you do. 11 a.m., Baptist Hospital of Miami. Marcus's room. He was awake, oxygen cannula in his nose, monitors beeping steadily. Vanessa Klein entered. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were red. Mr. Thompson, I need to tell you something. He waited. I knew about your shellfish allergy. Marcus's expression didn't change. How? I found the EpiPen in your desk. 3 months ago, when I was looking for a file, I saw the prescription label. Why didn't you tell me you knew? I thought if you wanted me to know, you'd tell me. Vanessa's voice cracked, so I didn't say anything. The dietary form. You forgot to send it. I forgot. I swear I just forgot. The merger documents, the lawyers, the complexity of it all, it just slipped my mind. She started crying. Then she pulled out her phone. But that's not all. Her hands were shaking. Someone sent me this morning. She showed him the screen, a text message thread. Unknown number. Did it work? Vanessa time-stamped 8:35 p.m. Last night. No. Someone saved him. Unknown. Who? Vanessa, the cleaning woman. She had an EpiPen. Unknown. We needed this deal to fail. You had one job. Vanessa, I'm done. This wasn't supposed to happen. Marcus stared at the messages. His face went pale. Who is this? I don't know. I swear I don't know. How long have you been communicating with them? 4 months since I started here. 12 p.m. Sarah's apartment, Little Havana, Miami. Mia was home from school. The TV was on. Breaking news. Thompson Capital CEO survives apparent assassination attempt during merger negotiations. A reporter stood outside Thompson Plaza. Sources say a member of the cleaning staff noticed signs of deliberate poisoning and intervened. The alleged perpetrator, personal assistant Vanessa Klein, has been taken into custody. Mia turned to her mother. Mom, that's you. They're talking about you. Sarah watched the screen, numb. Her phone rang. Derek, Miss Jenkins, you need to come back to the plaza. Mr. Thompson wants to see you. I'm on suspension, not anymore. She'd saved his life. Now she'd have to save her own reputation. 2 p.m., floor 48, Marcus Thompson's office. He checked himself out of the hospital against medical advice, signed the forms, walked out because this couldn't wait. Present in the room, Marcus, Sarah, the company lawyer, Laura from HR, Derek, 2 Miami police detectives, an FBI agent from the Corporate Crime Division. Miss Jenkins, thank you for coming. Marcus's voice was still hoarse, but strong enough. Sarah stood near the door, uncertain. I was told I had to. You saved my life. Now I need you to help me understand what you saw. One of the detectives opened a notepad. Miss Jenkins, you said you'd been documenting violations. For how long? 9 years. The FBI agent leaned forward. May we see your notebook? Sarah pulled it from her bag. Small, black. 9 years of observations. She handed it over. The agent flipped through it. Read entries aloud. April 22nd, 2022. Chef Ramirez used same knife for chicken than fish. No wash between. Sanitization log not signed today. July 18th, 2023. Vanessa Klein, new assistant, asking questions about Mr. Thompson's health. Unusual interest in medical history. August 30th, 2023. Saw Vanessa photographing documents on Mr. Thompson's desk. She said, inventory for archives. But archives don't photograph active files. October 12th, 2023. Vanessa meeting someone in parking garage level C2, man in dark suit. They spoke for 15 minutes. She handed him an envelope. The agent looked up. You documented a conspiracy. I documented what I saw. I'm a cleaner. I see things. I didn't know what it meant at the time. Within 2 hours, the FBI traced everything. The man in the parking garage, license plate visible on security footage. Harold Vance, executive at Apex Ventures, the rival firm competing for the same $2.2 billion acquisition. If Marcus died, the merger would collapse. Apex would acquire the target company instead. Financial motive, $2.2 billion plus market dominance. Vanessa's recruitment, LinkedIn approach, fake consulting offer, then blackmail, then bribery, $750,000, Bitcoin payments, encrypted messages. Apex tried to kill me over a deal. Marcus's voice was quiet. People have died for less, Mr. Thompson. The FBI agent closed his folder. Corporate murder is more common than you think. 3:30 p.m. Marcus addressed everyone in the room. Here's what's going to happen. He looked at Sarah first. Miss Jenkins. Jenkins, you're not suspended. You're promoted. Director of Safety and Compliance, Thompson Capital Group. Starting salary, $140,000. Full benefits, immediate start. Your job is to audit every procedure, protocol, and safety system in this company. You report directly to me. You have authority to shut down any operation you deem unsafe. Sarah couldn't speak. Your daughter's college tuition fully covered, 4 years. Any school she gets into. I don't know what to say. Say you'll help me fix what's broken because clearly I've been blind. He turned to Laura. Laura, mandatory safety training. Every employee, every level, cleaning staff, kitchen staff, security, executives, everyone. And respect training. Anyone dismisses a safety concern from any employee gets written up. Third strike, they're gone. I don't care if it's coming from a janitor or a board member. Same process. Laura nodded, taking notes. He looked at Derek. Derek, new protocol. Every safety observation gets logged and investigated properly. You hire consultants. We audit everything top to bottom. Yes, sir. Marcus pulled out his phone. Conference call. Chef Eduardo on the line. Eduardo, you're done. 18 years doesn't excuse negligence. The kitchen is shut down until we hire new staff and implement real protocols. You're lucky you're not facing criminal charges. He ended the call, looked around the room. Company-wide reforms effective immediately. 1. Anonymous safety reporting system. Any employee can report violations without retaliation. 2. Monthly protocol audits by independent third parties. 3. Whistleblower protections. Legally binding. You cannot be fired for raising safety concerns. 4. Diversity hiring initiative. Actively recruit people with non-traditional backgrounds. 5. Credential recognition. We assess employee skills regardless of current position. 6. Living wage baseline, $25 per hour minimum for all employees, including contractors. 7. Educational benefits. Tuition reimbursement for all staff. He looked at Sarah. You've been here 9 years. You have a medical technology degree we never knew. You never asked. I'm asking now, how many other people in this building have skills we're wasting? In my crew alone, 3 former teachers, 1 mechanic, 1 paramedic. Find them. I want to talk to them. All of them. 4 p.m. Thompson Plaza lobby. Press conference. Marcus stood at a podium. Sarah beside him. Local news, financial press, cameras everywhere. Yesterday someone tried to kill me. They nearly succeeded. The person who saved my life was Sarah Jenkins, a member of our cleaning staff. She's a former clinical lab technician with expertise in immunology. For 9 years, she's been documenting safety violations in this building. For 9 years, we ignored her. She saw what no one else did. Not because she's smarter, but because we didn't value her observations. This company failed her. This company failed me. And I'm here because she refused to fail me. He paused. Today, I'm announcing the Sarah Jenkins Safety Initiative. Every Thompson Capital property will implement mandatory safety protocols. Every employee will have a voice. Every observation will be valued because the person who sees the problem isn't always the person in charge. Sometimes it's the person no one's looking at. A reporter called out, "Miss Jenkins, what do you want people to know?" Sarah stepped to the microphone, nervous, uncomfortable with attention. "I just did what anyone should do, but others didn't do it. Why? Because people like me are supposed to be invisible. We clean your floors, we empty your trash, we restock your supplies, and you walk past us like we're furniture. But we see everything, we hear everything, and sometimes we know things that could save your life. All you have to do is listen." What would you say to other workers in similar positions? Speak up. Even if your voice shakes, especially if your voice shakes, because you might be the only one who sees the danger. And staying silent, staying in your place, that might cost someone their life. 5. Hallway outside the press room. Marcus and Sarah alone. "I need to ask you something." Marcus's voice was quiet. "Okay. Why didn't you just let me die?" "What? I've walked past you for 9 years, never learned your name, never asked about your life. You had every reason to let me face the consequences of my own blindness because that's not who I am. Who are you, Sarah Jenkins? I'm someone who lost her husband because nobody knew what to do. I'm someone who learned everything so I'd never feel that helpless again. And I'm someone who believes every life matters, even the life of someone who didn't see me." Marcus's eyes were wet. "My wife, Sophia. She died 3 years ago." "I know. I cleaned your office the day you came back. You'd been crying. You noticed." "I notice everything, Mr. Thompson. That's my job. Not anymore. Now your job is to make sure we all notice." The FBI agent approached. "Mr. Thompson, Miss Jenkins, we've made arrests. Vanessa Klein, Harold Vance from Apex Ventures, 4 others. Your notebook, Miss Jenkins. It's evidence in a federal case. Corporate espionage, attempted murder, conspiracy. You didn't just save his life. You brought down a criminal organization." Sarah looked at the notebook in the agent's gloved hands. "I just wrote down what I saw. That's exactly what solved the case. 9 years of being invisible, 1 night of being seen, 3 months later, August 2025, Sarah's new office, floor 48, corner suite with floor-to-ceiling windows. Her desk held audit reports, safety manuals, compliance regulations. On the wall, her framed medical technology certificate no longer hidden. Beside it, a photo of Mia with her college acceptance letter. University of Miami, full scholarship, pre-med immunology track. The door nameplate read, Sarah Jenkins, Director of Safety and Compliance, 8:00 a.m., morning coffee with Marcus, a standing weekly meeting now. How's the initiative going? He sipped his coffee slowly, still cautious about what he ate and drank. Read the report. I read it. I'm asking how you're doing. I'm adjusting. Some executives still look at me like I don't belong. Do you belong? Yes, I earned this. Damn right you did. 10 a.m., conference room, executive board meeting. Sarah presenting the 3-month audit results. Violations discovered 162 across 10 properties, corrected 160. That's 98.8% compliance. Staff reports received through the anonymous system. 102 safety concerns. All investigated. 100% response rate. Average resolution time 36 hours. Prevented incidents. At least 4 potential hospitalizations documented. Cost savings $2.8 million. Insurance premiums reduced due to safety improvements. Employee satisfaction survey shows an increase of 38%. Skills audit. 28 employees with unused credentials now repositioned to appropriate roles. Robert, the CFO, shook his head in amazement. Sarah, this is remarkable. 3 months and you've transformed our culture. I just made visible what was always there, the problems and the people who see them. Specific changes implemented everywhere. Color-coded safety systems throughout all buildings. Daily checklist completion now digital and trackable. Emergency equipment upgraded. EpiPens in every kitchen, every office, every public space. Training certifications required and monitored. Cultural changes, too. Monthly safety voices meetings where any employee could speak directly to leadership. Quarterly awards for employees who identified hazards. Zero-tolerance policy for dismissing safety concerns. Respect training mandatory for all management. The human impact showed in faces. Maria, the former teacher, now ran the training department. 45% salary increase. Carlos, the former mechanic, now managed facilities, 65% more than he'd made cleaning. Elena, the former paramedic, coordinated health services, all of them crediting Sarah for advocating for credential recognition. Noon, executive dining room, lunch with Mia. The room had been completely renovated. New chef, strict protocols, every meal documented, every ingredient tracked. Mom, I can't believe this is where you work now. Mia, now 15, finishing 9th grade. Sometimes I can't either. Do you miss cleaning? I miss the quiet, but I don't miss being invisible. You were never invisible to me. I know, baby. But I was invisible to myself. Mia updated her on school, straight A's, honor roll, accepted to the Magnet High School STEM program. She wanted to study immunology. Like her mom, she still carried 2 EpiPens now. Sarah had made sure she got a replacement immediately. Your EpiPen saved a man's life, Sarah said softly. No, Mom, you did. The EpiPen was just the tool. 2 p.m. Meeting with Marcus, his office, informal. I want to tell you something about Sophia. He looked out the window. Your wife? She died because I was too busy. I missed the signs. She had symptoms for months, fatigue, pain, weight loss. I told her she was stressed. I told her to rest. By the time we went to the doctor, stage 4 cancer 6 months later, gone. I'm sorry I didn't see her. I was so focused on deals, on growth, on winning, and I lost the only thing that mattered. Is that why you kept your allergy secret? Partly. After she died, I didn't care if I lived or died. But then you saved me, and I realized I'd been given a second chance. Not just to live, but to see. Really see. What do you see now? People. Not positions, not titles. People. He leaned forward. I want to expand the Sarah Jenkins Initiative nationally, partner with other companies, share our protocols, make this standard. You become Chief Safety Officer at the national level. Travel, train, implement in companies across the country. That's huge. You change this company in 3 months. Imagine what you could do in 3 years. I need to think about it. Mia, bring her homeschooling stipend, boarding school, remote learning, whatever works. This is bigger than Thompson Capital. This is about changing how we value people. 6 p.m., Sarah leaving work. She passed by floor 50, her old locker room. The current night shift cleaners were starting their rounds. Sophia, one of them, saw Sarah, waved. Sarah walked over. Miss Jenkins, we heard about you. You're famous now. You're inspiration. You can call me Sarah. You show us we matter, that we can speak up. Sophia pulled out a small notebook. I start writing things down like you. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Good. Keep writing. Someone will listen. They listen now because of you. Evening, Sarah's apartment. Mia doing homework at the kitchen table, Sarah cooking dinner, simple chicken and vegetables. The medical alert bracelet on Mia's wrist caught the light. The EpiPen sat in its designated spot on the counter. Always visible, always accessible. Mom, did you ever imagine this? Which part? All of it. The office, the salary, the respect. No, I imagined getting through each day, paying bills, keeping you safe. What do you imagine now? I imagine a world where people like me don't have to be invisible, where we're seen from the start, where what we know matters as much as what we're called. You're building that world. I'm trying. Her phone rang. Marcus, Sarah, turn on Channel 4. She did. News segment. The Sarah Jenkins Safety Initiative is being adopted by 7 Fortune 500 companies this month. What started as one woman noticing what others didn't has become a national movement. Cleaning staff, service workers, and other invisible employees are now being trained to report safety hazards. Companies are creating safety auditor positions specifically for workers with non-traditional backgrounds. Mia stared at the screen. Mom, that's you. That's your work. Sarah was crying. I just wanted to save one life, Marcus's voice on the phone. You're saving thousands. She'd been invisible for 9 years. Now she was changing the world. Sarah Jenkins spent 9 years being invisible. She cleaned floors while people walked past her. She emptied trash while executives made billion-dollar decisions. She restocked supplies while chefs prepared meals for the powerful. But she was never truly invisible. She saw everything. She saw the cutting board that was the wrong color. She saw the checklist that stayed blank. She saw the protocols that existed on paper but not in practice. She saw the knife that wasn't washed. She saw the gloves that weren't changed. She saw the forms that weren't filled out. She saw the danger that no one else noticed. And when the moment came, when Marcus Thompson's life hung in the balance, she didn't stay quiet. She didn't stay in her place. She spoke up. She acted. She saved him. Not because she was a hero, but because she refused to be invisible anymore. This story isn't about one woman saving one man. It's about the thousands of people around you right now who see things you don't. The cleaner who notices the frayed wire. The security guard who spots the safety hazard. The assistant who recognizes the pattern. The people you walk past every day without seeing. They're not invisible. You just have to look. Today, the Sarah Jenkins Safety Initiative operates in 15 states. 52 companies have adopted her protocols. Hundreds of invisible workers have been promoted to safety positions. Thousands of lives have been protected. All because one woman refused to stay silent. And all because one man finally listened. So here's what I want you to think about. Who in your life is invisible? Who sees things you don't? Who has knowledge you're not asking about? Maybe it's the person who cleans your office. Maybe it's the security guard at your building. Maybe it's the assistant you've stopped noticing. Ask them. Listen to them. See them. Because one day they might save your life. Just like Sarah saved Marcus. If this story reminded you to see the people around you, if it made you think about who you've been overlooking, if it gave you hope that one voice can change everything, then maybe hit subscribe because there are more stories like this. Stories of people who see what others don't. Stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Stories that remind us everyone matters. You don't have to, of course. But if you want more of this, more stories that show the power of paying attention, the value of every person, the courage it takes to speak up, then subscribe, leave a like, share this with someone who needs to hear it, because maybe they're Sarah, maybe they're invisible too, maybe they need permission to speak up. And maybe this story is that permission. Thank you for listening. And remember, pay attention. You never know whose life you might save or who might save yours.